Okay, cool. So you essentially have a whole 5-step process of how to handle retrenchment. Wow, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, like it
Okay.
sounds gimmicky, but
No, it doesn't.
hold up.
Retrenchment. So it's not very nice, but it happens quite often these days due to the COVID-19 pandemic. James, your thoughts? Have you seen this happen often with your clients?
Yeah, Nadine, it's actually hectic, and I don't know if it's going to, get worse or better. But I think that we need to, as advisors, really start looking at um, how to provide a bit more insight and guidance, like in that retrenchment process.
How to add more value to the clients?
Yeah, like retrenchment is hard, and it's really difficult to deal with because when it happens, you're just caught up in, it's a ball of emotions. At least there's just a lot happening when you suddenly lose your job because of something that you didn't really do.
And I think the one thing that I've seen also happen is that a lot of clients have lost a certain percentage of their income as well, right? So that is one thing, to lose a certain percentage of your income, but to wake up tomorrow and not have a job.
Yeah,
Like how do you advise someone through that?
yeah, it's a process, right?
Yes.
Like we got to take them through some sort of a process. So
Mm-hmm.
we went and looked at having a 5-step process.
Okay.
So some sort of objective process that people can go through,
Mm-hmm.
and something that will assist them. So what we've said is that there is definitely a way to handle your retrenchment and how to handle it well. And for us, it can be broken down into 5 steps. So,
Okay, cool. So you essentially have a whole 5-step process of how to handle retrenchment. Wow, that's what you're saying.
yeah, like it
Okay.
sounds gimmicky, but
No, it doesn't. It's actually quite good, because I mean, it's not something that I think we are very equipped to deal with. I mean, as as just employees, that tomorrow we almost kind of think we'll be employed forever. And
yeah, yeah,
if you're not employed forever, you maybe have a business idea that you want to explore or something like that. But I don't think anybody wakes up thinking of the possibility that tomorrow I might not have a job until the discussion comes through and you get called into the office and you're told that, hey,
I don't know
your
it. Cheers.
name is on the list of people
Yeah,
and we're looking at retrenchment. So I think until that happens, nobody walks around thinking, hey, there's a possibility I might get retrenched. So is there something I can do in the
yeah,
meantime?
yeah,
Um, and I think even when somebody calls you into the office, your manager calls you into the office and tells you your name is on the list, I don't think it sinks in immediately
yeah,
at that
yeah.
point. You
It's emotional.
probably, yes, because it's emotional. Really, you don't really think you're going to wake up tomorrow and not have a job. You're probably thinking that maybe things will turn around and it won't have to get that far. So what are the 5 steps?
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, I think that we are dealing with it a lot, and we probably will deal with it more now. So as advisors, we need to tackle it in some way. So for me, the first thing is actually to put them at ease. So to put a client at ease, because when they come and see you, there's like a lot of emotional stuff going on. So what I like to say is to take a breath, because there's life after retrenchment.
Okay.
There really is. And like we're all people, retrenchment sucks. But the thing that I've just learned is that your job doesn't define you. Like how you make your money isn't all that you are. And
Yes.
and it feels like that in the corporate world. Like it literally is about your job. The first
Yes.
thing, like you talk about at Bryce, is what you do.
Yes, and the first thing people ask you when you don't talk about it is, what do you do?
100%. So I think we got to get, like, there's a life after retrenchment. So we've got to take a breath. And then that's on to the second point, is like mental change.
Yeah.
Retrenchment, as bad as it is either going to be a great misfortune or it could be unexpected opportunity.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
Okay, perfect. Can we move on to the next step? This is interesting, because now this is the step where advisors come in. And
Yeah, this is where we get involved.
So what do we do?
Yeah, so for me, it's helping the client take stock. So take stock of their situation, of their financial position. Where are you?
Yes.
So as finance people, we just want to jump right into, like, where's your budget and how much money do you have and how much debt you have.
What's that severance package looking like?
Yeah, it is. So like that, it's super important. So reviewing your financial situation is obviously really key to handling retrenchment well and to step 3 of taking stock. But I don't think it should stop there.
Yes.
I think it should be where are you spiritually, emotionally, physically? What does your health look like? What do your relationships look like? And what does your spiritual life look like? Because there's more to life than work.
It's interesting you say that, because as human beings we are quite dynamic, and all these things have an impact on each other. You know, there's a study I think they did in the UK some few years back where they found that 4 out of 5 people in a mental health institution was there because of money problems. So that's the emotional side that came from not taking care of your finances well. So these things kind of interlink. So it's interesting you would mention that. So yeah, I think that's a good way of taking stock of your situation, you know, not just your financial situation, but how are you feeling? Can you identify all these things? That's a good way. Spiritual health is important, and you need to be in a right space also for the next steps that come after that, because we have 2 more steps. And
so I mean, in taking stock, like I think like the questions you've got to start asking yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so we will handle the finance stuff and we'll ask the questions about, you know, your debt and assets and that sort of thing. And, you know, how much money do you need and so on. But I really think that you've got to take the chance, and we as advisors have to sort of poke more at it. Like questions, you know, what have you learned about yourself and what do you know about yourself?
Yes.
You know, did you like your job?
Yes. Did you like your job, or is this actually a blessing in disguise? Like, I can actually go and find something to do that I actually like. You
Exactly. So did you hate your job or not? Like, what has this done for you? And like, has your job given you an opportunity to grow into a space where you feel like you could start a business and now you get retrenched, so now's the time?
Yes.
Or has it actually said to you, like, I'm actually really happy with being an employee and not having the risk of business or management, and just working hard for my 8 hours a day and actually spending more time and focusing on family or on health or something else? Which either way is okay.
Yes, either way is okay. But I really like that third step for not just focusing on the financial situation, but focusing on the overall situation. And I like that you're saying that we also need to look at it from a perspective of not just asking about how much money do you have, what's your budget, and, you know, how much debt do you have, and looking at maybe, okay, for the next 3 months, this is what you can do, you know, but also getting the information with regards to getting to know the person as a person, not just, you know, a client who needs financial advice. I think that's important. So then, step number 4.
Yeah, so I think this is where we get like seriously practical.
Okay, cool.
So it's like developing an action plan.
Okay.
You know, and answering those questions.
Yes.
And we obviously do a lot with the finance side of it. So it's important to understand, like, what are your basic expenses? Like, how much do you need to put bread and milk on the table? And do you know, pay water and lights?
Yes.
You know? So I think that's super important, and that's where we can be pretty active in developing some sort of a action plan, including the financial plan. But I don't think we should forget about, like, how are you going to get a job?
Yes.
So, like, how are you going to deal with retrenchment practically?
Yes.
So, like, what are your action points? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? What is step 3 and taking stock of your current situation?
Yeah.
Like, what have you identified as your goals?
Yes.
And what you want to achieve, and what you don't want to what mistakes you don't want to repeat.
Okay.
And then, like, I think you also have to have a very honest conversation around, like, how employable am I in the space that I'm in, and in the space I want to be in, because we're in a post-COVID world, or like a semi-post-COVID, where you know, it might get even worse.
Yes.
And you know, if you're not that employable, it's really difficult to find work. So that action plan should answer the questions of how long do you think it will take you to find a job?
Yes.
Is it going to be 12 months, or could it be 36 months, or is it going to be 6 months because you're really employable? So those are the questions I think you've got to answer.
I think those questions are quite important, especially to give you a realistic view of what you can do, you know, what your action plan can look like. Because if you expect to find employment in 6 months and then you only don't find employment for the next 12 months, you have a whole 6 months that you did not plan for, you know, and that might throw you off. So I think it's very important to know what your options are in terms of when are you likely to get back into the employment space, or when would your business take off and things like that. And the day-to-day things are important, you know. In the meantime, while I don't have a job, how am I going to pay the installment on my car?
Yeah.
You know, that would be things that I think form part of that action plan.
Yes.
So interesting. Very
100%.
interesting.
And I think getting to the practicalities around product and credit life insurance and stuff is a conversation for another day.
Yes, definitely.
So there's a Chinese proverb that says vision without action is a daydream.
Yeah.
And action without vision is a nightmare. And I think that's where sort of step 5 gets a lot of validity. So step 5 is implementing the action plan and finding a job, because without implementation, the rest means nothing.
Yes.
So in that space, it's like you go through all this process of seeing a personal trainer and getting a full-on a routine and gym plan worked out for you.
Diet plan, everything.
All this.
And
you never do it.
Exactly. That was my thought exactly. So implementation is important.
It's key, because without that, the rest means nothing. And I think that, you know, if you can follow a process like this and you have someone objective that can hold you accountable, and I really think you're putting yourself on the front foot and in a position to, you know, succeed and to handle retrenchment well. And I think that as advisors, we should, in this space, have a bit more, not actionality, but we should be a bit more involved in that accountability process.
Yes.
And that's what we've been trying to do, you know, from a Villic Wealth point of view, dealing with people. And I think that if one gets someone to hold you accountable and you follow a process like this,
it's easier to stay disciplined.
And I think you'll
and
have
I mean,
for
practicality purposes, if you're trying to find a job, obviously if you get employed, there will be working hours. You know, being retrenched doesn't mean you can sit and laze around the whole day at work and then for 1 hour you decide that now you're going to start looking for a job, but the job is going to require you to be at work for like 7-8 hours, you know. So I think it's those little things that will also make a big difference. If you want to have a 9 to 5, from 9 to 5 you are actually actively looking for a job and working on your action plan, you know. Working on your spiritual life, your emotional health, your finances, you know. So I think that's quite important. I enjoyed this, and I think the 5-step process puts me at ease. If I think of tomorrow not being employed, then I think the 5-step process would work well for me. So thank you very much.
Hi guys, thanks for listening. If you have any thoughts or questions, please drop us a comment below. If you found this valuable, please consider sharing with your family and friends. Thank you. Please note, this is general information purposes only and is not financial advice. Villic Wealth is an authorized financial services provider.